Okay, Chris Speaks back here with Brandon Moseley for our BCS State of Alabama podcast, and we got former Ag Commissioner Ron Sparks, who is running for his old job again. Commissioner, you know, you're campaigning pretty hard out there. What's the vibe you're getting on the ground?
Oh, I feel good about it. We're getting a lot of support. We're getting a lot of people that understand what the situation is at the Department of Agriculture now. So I feel good about where we are. I know we still got 90 something days to go, but it's a process and you just got to put it all together.
Um, Commissioner, um, we've got like um, record low unemployment. I mean, we're creating new jobs every time you turn around, it seems. And yet there's a lot of dissatisfaction in pretty much any time you poll the public about the economy and their own situation. What do you think's driving that? Because it seems like there's a disconnect between, the economic indicators and public sentiment.
Well, I think what you're seeing today in the economy when they're pulling up to a gas pump and they're paying, $4 a gallon. I know I was in South Alabama last week and I paid $4 a gallon for regular gasoline. I think that's hurting. But I can tell you one thing that the farmers out here are struggling. I am talking to farmers all over the state of Alabama, and it is a crisis. The gasoline, the fertilizer, diesel fuel, the inputs. We've got farmers that may not ever farm again, and that's a sad situation. I have a real concern about where the gasoline prices are today with the gasoline companies having record profits at a time that we're at the country's at war and that we need help, but they're making record profits. So I have a concern about that, and I'd like to be able to have a voice. What could the commissioner do? He could talk loud, talk to people, and try to see if we can't get them to back off a little bit.
Commissioner, along the same lines, I think it was former Attorney General Troy King that pointed this out to me. When we go to a gas pump now, it's no longer inspected by the ag commissioner. Just says if they don't give you a gallon or self-report. I went and bought some meat the other day. It had been marked down. It was like 1.64 pounds, and then the reweigh was 1.55 pounds. So are we getting the right weight, and
No,
how do we
no,
know?
no. You know you're not, Chris, and that's a great question that you just asked. Let me tell you what. They've done away with the inspectors at the Department of Agriculture. They may have three inspectors to do light weights, just like what you were talking, making sure that meat and those kind of things are weighed. Then you got heavyweights, and then you got gasoline. We're not getting the services at the Department of Agriculture that the people of Alabama deserve. If you look at the sticker on that gas pump today, it says the owner of this facility is responsible for the accuracy of this pump. Folks, that's the Fox Garden to Hit House. And that's not the way it was when I was there. We sent inspectors out. Not only that, Chris, they've done away with the gas lab. When you have to send a gas to get inspected, you got to send it to Georgia. They've even done away with our gas lab in Alabama. That is unfortunate. That's not what that department is supposed to be doing. It is supposed to be looking out for the people of Alabama. That's what we did when I was there, and that's exactly why I'm going back.
When you were there, Commissioner, the department produced the Alabama's Farmers Bulletin, and then they farmed that out to private publishers. In fact, the last publisher of it was the Alabama Gazette before that got shut down by the current commissioner. Um, is is the department got any really communications
No,
with the public outside of social media at this point?
no, and that again, that's a very good question because we really strive to make sure that we had that piece of information to send out. There was a lot of good information, especially to the agriculture community, and it's unfortunate that that's not there anymore. Not only that, for them to sell products, good information, things about animal health, all the things that were going on. That not enough people in Alabama know what the department does now. It's one of the most important departments in the state of Alabama. It affects everybody every day. And you're exactly right. I would love to see some kind of publication going back out to the people of Alabama to the farmers of Alabama to keep them up to date on what's going on.
We just interviewed David Perry, who's running for the GOP nomination in the 7th Congressional District. And he said that our catfish farmers are hurting because of an
Absolutely.
influx of Vietnamese catfish. Is that true?
Absolutely. And there again, I'm the guy who stopped Vietnam catfish from coming into the state of Alabama. I helped save our catfish industry in Alabama. But you've got these big farm organizations that's telling them everything's okay. It's not okay. They're hurting. And you need a commissioner that understands what's going on, that's willing to step up to the plate and go out and inspect these products, because I can guarantee you, I was at the grocery store the other day. I went over and picked up shrimp, turned it over on the back, looked at where it come from, Vietnam. That's not what the people of Alabama want. They want, and let me tell you, if you take that shrimp and you take that fish and you start inspecting it and running it through the lab, you're probably going to find chemicals in it that's banned from this country. Chloramphenicol, Malachi green, all kind of antibiotics, because they raise it in the most nasty river in the world, the Mekong River. I've been to the Mekong River, and I think you. I don't know if you have or not, Chris. I know you served, but I've been to the Mekong River. I know how nasty it is. It's unfortunate that we're not getting the services at the Department of Agriculture that the people of Alabama deserve.
Along those lines, I think I read recently that we were down to like 84 catfish farms in Alabama, and I think 2 of those are available for sale at the moment.
Well,
Is this just a segment of agriculture, sort of like the dairies back in the 80s, that is just going away on us?
unfortunately, but we've got to find ways to keep them there. We've got to give them an even playing field. That's the problem. You know, when you have countries that send products into Alabama that's not raised at the same scale that the farmers in Alabama have to do it, that's not an even playing field. I did it when I was there, guys. I helped those catfish farmers. I had courage to stand up against big business. Let me tell you, it's big business up and down that coast that bring that foreign seafood in and then send it into Alabama. But I can tell you, yes, sir, you're 100% right. We've got to do everything we can to save our farms. I think it's becoming a national security, because when we get to the point we can't feed our families and we can't feed us American products, then I don't want them other countries feeding us like they're putting gasoline in our automobiles. So, you know, I think I'm the guy to go back to the department and get things moving in the right direction again, because I understand what the department does on a daily basis.
Commissioner, I wasn't aware, I mean, how important the ag commissioner was and how many responsibilities they had. Is there some other things that you think that needs to be addressed there that's of vital importance?
Absolutely. I think we need to put the law enforcement group back, because right now, farmers, people don't realize we get cattle stolen in Alabama. We get equipment stolen in Alabama. We get hunting lodges broke into all the time in Alabama. We need our law enforcement group back. You know, they don't have anybody to call. They got rid of our law enforcement group. They go out to all these sale barns and they go out and visit with farmers. They go to farm organizations. They understand what's going on. And we were able to confiscate millions of dollars worth of equipment to help these farmers with their losses. And I think it's absolutely unfortunate that they've got rid of all these inspectors, and we're going to do everything we can to bring them back.
This year we've had New World screwworm appear in Mexico for the first time in like 40 years, and it just walked its way right up through central Mexico into northern Mexico, and now it's in central South and central Texas. How big a threat are we facing? Because, I mean, you know, for people that don't know, I mean, it's a fly whose maggot actually eats living flesh. Most don't. And, you know, it'll kill a calf just like lickety split.
Well, it'll kill a calf, it'll kill a dog, it'll kill whatever it gets on. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, but you're 100% right. I mean, that's got to be a concern. And when you do away with a lot of the federal inspection programs, that's a concern. And I think that's one of the problems. When you start cutting and you don't understand what you're cutting and how it's going to affect and the unintentional consequences. Food safety, animal inspections, and those kind of things are important to this country. And it's important to the people. Look at the sickness that people had just not long ago because of the lettuce. I've been down those roads. I understand those kind of things. And it's all about having enough folks to do the job that needs to be done. And if you don't have those folks, you're going to have problems. 100%, you're going to have problems. Right now, we don't have them. And that happened within the last 15 years. That was not the way it was when I walked out of the door of the Department of Agriculture. We built one of the best departments of agriculture in this country, and we were proactive about everything. You can go ask that. There's a lot of employees that were there when I was there. But I can tell you, we need to get that department back going again. We need to do what's right for the people of Alabama, and that's exactly why I'm running again.
Commissioner, I've seen some of your videos and stuff. You're pointing out that these are not Republican or Democrat issues; these are people issues. Are you finding that receptive on the campaign trail?
I do. I do. Everybody pretty well knows Ron Sparks. I don't buy into the garbage that's going on in Washington. I don't follow that stuff. That's not me. I've never made a decision based on whether I was a Democrat or Republican. I treat people right. I've got awards from every ag group in the state of Alabama. Look over my shoulder. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a bronze eagle there that Alpha gave me because of the work we did to help the farmers in Alabama. I got awards from the cattlemen. I got awards from the veterinarians. I got awards from poultry and egg, state troopers. I work with people. I treat people right. I'm not going to mistreat people. I'm going to make decisions that helps Alabama. I think people really read in too much of this. If regardless, take that letter off of my back and then find out who I am. That has absolutely nothing to do with the way I govern, the way I think, and how I'm going to run the Department of Agriculture and treat people in Alabama. So I hope people that when they start thinking about these things, let's don't read into that too much because that ain't me. I care about Alabama. I'm coming back. I'm 73 years old, and I'm coming back to try to do a job that I feel like needs to be done for the people, and that's why I'm coming back, Chris.
Commissioner, Garrett Coliseum, where the state holds its, it, livestock shows and horse shows and livestock expositions and everything, the department sold, the Coliseum part to the city of Montgomery, and Alpha's gone off on its own and is building a new agribition complex with Jefferson County, up on the old Hallmark farms, right as you cross from Blount County.
Yes, sir.
That's sort of stalled. Where are we on that? Between the state sort of punted to, Garrett, which is becoming increasingly obsolescent, and a new facility that Alpha's working on. The last time I checked seemed like it was still years away from actually being up and operational.
Another good question. That was probably one of the most disappointing things that I've ever gone through as Commissioner of Agriculture. I tried every way in the world. I even had plans. I spent thousands of dollars having plans put together about that ag center in Montgomery. That is one of the biggest economic engines in this part of the state if we do it the right way. That place was built in 1952. I started trying to rebuild those barns at about $100,000 a year. I just found out it was sort of like spitting into the wind. I couldn't get it all done. I couldn't get people to the table. I would love to try to go back and make that happen again. I don't have a problem with them building what they want to build in Jefferson County. I'm sure we've got plenty of events. If you go to some of the other states like Perry, Georgia, or Mississippi, they've got events in those places every week, whether it's a car show, knife show, ag show, cattle show, whatever it may be. And we need to be doing that in Alabama. But we need to really put a focus on Garrett Coliseum and get it back to where it needs to be. I, I want to do that. It's a goal of mine. It was when I was there. And I'd have to honestly say, we did some good things, but we didn't get it across the line.
Commissioner, when I was in school, we had ag every year. Why did they stop having ag class for
Yeah.
everybody?
Well, that's another thing. I probably put more money in ag classes than any commissioner in history, Chris. But that's the problem. When they start cutting budgets, one of the first places they look is the ag program. Well, now we're seeing that we're needing jobs. We're needing welders. We're needing mechanics. We're needing electricians. We're needing farmers. We're needing those kind of things. And when you take them out of our education programs, this is what you get. I think it's very unfortunate that some of your schools don't have the ag programs that they once had, and I'd love to see them go back. When I was commissioner, Chris, when these kids would come to Montgomery and have livestock shows, I paid their entry fee. I didn't think a kid had to pay their entry fee to be involved in these kind of things, and I wanted to make sure they stayed involved and that every dollar that we could invest in them was good for Alabama. Because I can tell you, these folks, these kids that are part of these livestock shows, they are phenomenal kids. I mean, they learn some valuable lessons on that farm, raising that cattle, raising those sheep. And I want to do everything I can to support them again, and I will. And it's unfortunate that anybody that takes agriculture out of their education program, they're taking a big chunk of education out of their program, in my opinion.
Commissioner, this wasn't an issue when you were commissioner, but we've got thousands, especially in Montgomery County and Baldwin, of acres of solar farms either built or under construction. Now, obviously, you can't grow crops underneath very easily under solar panels, and you can't run cows there because the cows will start scratching on the panels and they'll mess them up. So the only option is sheep, which we really don't have many of anymore in Alabama. Is there some way for the state to train or retrain cattle farmers into becoming sheep herders?
That's a pretty tough transition. These guys have been doing that all. They've been doing this
Yeah,
all
that's
their
a
life.
big change.
That's a big change. I did support the sheep and goat industry when I was here. We did a lot of things in that area. The one thing that I really like to point out again is that when I was commissioner of agriculture, I saved over 3,000 acres of farmland. Since I've been gone, I don't know of an acre that's been saved. That's the problem. When I went into that office, I didn't go in there to read a newspaper and drink coffee every day. I went in there to work and make sure and listen to the problems, listen to my staff, and learn what the people of Alabama need. Just like you mentioned, and it's to me, that's certainly something we ought to look into because you can't go tell farmers what they should or shouldn't do with their land, but you might be able to provide them with some programs that will help them hang on to their land longer and maybe transition into some type of other agriculture if what they're doing is not being beneficial. That's why I want to take off the 1.5 cent sales tax off of farm equipment. That's $40 million that we could put back into farmers. I want to start an enhancement program like the state of Tennessee. They have put $300 million back in the pockets of farmers. We don't do enough in Alabama for our farmers. They need to be in our budget. We don't do enough for Alabama farmers in Alabama, whether it's low interest loans, whether it's helping them with grant money, whether it's helping them with this tax on equipment. We need to help our farmers because they are in a crisis and we need to help them get through this crisis.
Christian, on those same lines, I've read that a lot of reasons farmers are getting out of it is because they can't afford health insurance. Is there something that can be done to help them, if it's a subsidy, to be more affordable for them
Yeah,
and their family?
I think Alpha passed a bill last year or year before last that hopefully helped that. Now, I don't know if it was just for their members or what, but absolutely. I mean, we ought to be able to find a way to work with Blue Cross Blue Shield or any other insurance organization to see if we can't find some type of a co-op to where farmers can get reasonable health care. They deserve reasonable health care. So absolutely, I would put that on the table and try to do what I could to help facilitate something like that. Absolutely.
I've got friends in Columbia, Alabama that have like a big peanut and other crops type
Yes.
farm.
Yes, sir.
And I was talking to, one of the brothers, and he said that like the biggest, of course, maybe now it's commodity prices that may have changed. The biggest problem they have is finding people who were willing to work on those farms, driving those tractors, of those thousands of acres, they've got to be, you know, tilled up, it's got to be planted, got to be harvested, cultivated, spray rigs. And he said that, I mean, it's almost to the point where, you're looking for like robot tractors in the near future as the only solution.
Well, personally, I think it's very unfortunate that we have treated some of our labor the way we have treated them. We need labor. Blount County, we need labor, Chris. We need labor, whether it's the tomatoes or whatever. And there are federal programs out there to try to help get this labor, but it's such a cumbersome program for these folks to get through. So we really need to work on those kind of things. We shouldn't let our farming industry be go down because we have some type of political issue of talking about people coming across the border or whatever. We're smart enough to figure this out. Let's figure it out. I don't want illegals into this country. I don't want criminals into this country. But let's figure out how to make this work. These folks deserve good, honest, hardworking labor. And the longer we push on this kind of stuff, the harder it's going to be on our agriculture industry.
Hey, Chris, I got a question for you. Like that SMS, y'all love going up there. But so when that week you'll see ribeyes on sale for $11.99, New York strips on sale for $10.99. The next week they're up to 14. What causes that commodity? They can put some on sale one week and some on sale the next.
It might be short sale. Their date may be coming up. That they may need to get rid of it. But let me tell you one thing I did, Chris. When I was ag commissioner, I realized that some of the problems these grocery stores had, they came to me and we put in a policy that on close dated meat they could freeze it and still sell it as a frozen product rather than having to destroy it or getting rid of it when it was out of date. We worked with the industry when we were there. There's not a situation that folks brought to me that I didn't try to work out, and I wanted to help. That's sort of like Chris when I was commissioner, and you had a little small lab in Sneed for the poultry industry. It wasn't adequate. It was not adequate for the people of Alabama. I went and built a brand new. I went and built a brand new diagnostic lab in Boaz. I can't imagine what the poultry industry and the ag industry would do without these new labs that I was able to build. But you're exactly right. That's probably close dated or something to that effect. Or sometimes they may lower the price to because when they get you in a grocery store, you're not just going to buy one product. But most of them, I would say, probably getting close dated and need to sell it.
I have another friend that does prosecutions with ICE, and according to them, they get a bunch of people that came in as ag workers, but after 6 months or a year, they transitioned to something like construction and then overstayed the visa. And of course, then they run into them when they get caught drunk driving or beating up their
Yeah,
girlfriend or committing some sort of petty crime. And, now it's removal time. Um, I mean, this is probably more of a federal issue, but do we need some sort of mechanism to have better management of that program so that, yes, we can get the ag workers that we want
absolutely.
and can bring them back to the country, but we don't need them changing what they're doing and just coming out wild, loose in the country, and then we have to go port more ag workers.
100%. You're right on target. I mean, we've got to find a solution. You know, when it comes to federal programs, remember, guys, I was elected president of the uh, National Association of Departments of Agriculture. They are effective. They can talk to their congressman, and I was able to talk to the presidents at the time and talk about issues that affect agriculture in this country, not only just in Alabama, but in the whole country. So Absolutely. I mean, we've got to find solutions to some of these programs, take politics out of it, and find common sense solutions. So you're 100% right. We've got to have labor. Look, guys, I can remember when I went to school in Henniger, Alabama, back in the 60s. Believe it or not, I picked cotton. And there were migrant workers working next to me. I will never admit that I could pick anywhere close to what they could. But my point is, we've been bringing labor into this country for a long time because we need labor. Agriculture needs labor. So let's find a solution to that. Let's take the part of politics out of it, and let's find common sense solutions that helps the people of Alabama.
Commissioner, I sent a post that you did a while back. When you was in the Coast Guard, you won an award for heroism or something like that. Can you tell us what that was for?
Yeah, I was in the Coast Guard. We did a lot of rescue work. This was a situation where a young man and his dad was in a situation where they were about to die in a very short period of time. We went out after them and got them. We had the same situation to happen again, and we went out and got them. So the Coast Guard felt like at that point in time that they would award me. That's what we did when I was in the Coast Guard, is save people's lives. The military was good to me. They were better to me than I probably was for them, and I'm honored to be a veteran. I'm honored for that award, and I'm proud of it.
Mr. Commissioner Sparks, we've got Doug Jones, and he's pushing Tommy Tuberville, we think, maybe. Is there momentum behind Democrats? We had a higher than normal primary turnout for Democrats. Is there momentum this year behind the Democrat train, or is this in danger of fizzling out?
Yeah, I think you're seeing a little momentum. I do think you're seeing that because we do have some, in my opinion, some qualified people on the ballot. Let me be honest. I realize the challenge that we have because of the flip that we had back in 2010. I was running for governor in 2010. I realize where we are. But also, I would ask people to look at where we are as a state. Look at where we are when it comes to healthcare. Look at where we are with education. Look at what's happened to the Department of Agriculture. Give somebody a chance that might have a new vision or a new idea. And yeah, I think there's some momentum behind Democrats right now. And I think there's still a lot of hard work to be done. But I do, because I'm out here every day talking to people, not only just farmers, everyday people. And I can tell you, I do think there's some momentum. And I think if we do the right things, say the right things that people want to hear and follow through with it and do it once you get elected, that can make a difference.
Commissioner, I seen where you got an endorsement the other day from a veterans group. And, usually I'm not big, like I don't think endorsements really matter a lot. But I think now in this election with such a low turnout, how important is getting endorsements like that going to be?
Very, very important. And I'm honored to get it. Also, Chris, I'm the only person that I'm the only statewide candidate that got endorsements from the federal government workers. But the veterans was extremely important to me. There's more of them out there. I'm visiting a lot of the veterans organizations across the state of Alabama. I'm a proud veteran. My brother's a proud veteran. My dad was a veteran. A lot of people in my family were veterans. I have a lot of respect for veterans, and I'm thankful that they saw enough in me to get behind me. I'm honored.
When Russia invaded Ukraine, there were economic sanctions placed on them, making it really difficult for us to import like nitrogen and phosphate fertilizers from Russia. And then we had the ongoing war in Iran, which has made getting things like phosphate and nitrogen fertilizers out of the Middle East, which manufactures a lot of that, very difficult, if possible at all. Do we as a country need to say, hey, wait a minute, growing our food is cool. We need to do that. But to do that, we need to have our own dedicated fertilizers produced here, or at least in the hemisphere.
Absolutely. Yeah, 65% of the urea comes out of the Strait of Hormuz, about 40% of your ammonia. You're 100% right. And it's putting a stranglehold on our farmers right now. And I don't know that that situation is going to ease up anytime soon. But not only that, we've lost a lot of markets. You know, what farmers want is their markets. They will, that if you'll give them their markets and a fair price, they'll be okay. And they want their markets. And we've lost some markets. We've lost the soybean market. I'm not going to blame. I mean, policy makes a difference. Regardless of who's making the policy, it makes a difference. And it's made a difference in this particular situation. I don't think you'll see the soybean situation come back anytime soon, because when Brazil, I've been to Brazil, so I understand what their ag situation looks like over there. But you are 100% right. We need to start thinking, and I think USDA is now talking about. I think there's a place in Louisiana they're talking about, and some other things to try to put some money to get these fertilized operations back up and going again, to where we can be a little bit more self-sufficient in this country and not depend on other countries when we get in this situation. And I agree with that 100%. And if President Trump can do that, I support it 100%.
Commissioner, we've had you over 30 minutes, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. That's all I had, unless Brandon's got some more questions.
Now, Brandon can always ask more questions, but
I love you guys
for 30 minutes.
Y'all got good questions. I appreciate your questions, but I appreciate being on. I'm working hard. I feel like no doubt I'm the most qualified. I don't have anything negative. I've never run a negative ad on any opponent I've ever run against. I don't say negative things about my opponent. I talk about my abilities and my visions of what I could do. I think sometimes people read a little deep in, especially the Department of Agriculture. I think we read a little too deep in the R and Democrat situation. There's an awful lot of R's that walked in my office and asked for help when I was sitting in that chair at the Department of Agriculture. And I don't think there's many of them I ever refused. And like bringing buckmasters back to the state of Alabama. We did a lot of work to help people across the state of Alabama. That's what my vision and my goal is again. And if I can get my message out and continue to do the work we do, I feel like we can be successful in November. I really do.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for being on.
I'll get this loaded up in just a bit.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good and safe day.
You too, sir.
You too.